هلا خلينا نبدا. اول محاضره لنا رح تكون مع الدكتوره لينا دجالي من جوردن فود اند دراج ادمنستريشن JFDA. دكتوره Lina Dajjali, she graduated from Baghdad University and she has been working in the JFDA since 1992. She's recently now the drug director assistant. Her lecture or her presentation will be about awareness of the population about the JFDA requirements.
مساء الخير. أتمنى أكون صحي بعد الغداء لأنه أسوأ وقت هذا الوقت، بس مش مشكلة سنتعاون يعني معا في الموضوع. طبعا زي ما احنا بنحب واكيد الكل بحبوا انه دائما احنا بنحب ننشر ايش التعليمات اللي عندنا وايش الاسس وايش المتطلبات. هذا بيسهل على الناس بشكل عام يقدموا ملفات للتسجيل، وبرضه بيعرف الناس وبيزيد الببليك اويرنس بموضوع ايش هي الريكوايرمنتس للتسجيل ادويه القرص. ممكن نراجع هيك على السريع انه ليش احنا بنحتاج ريجوليشن. صوت؟ انجلش اوكي سوري انا نسيت لا هي كتاب بالانجليزي. So why do we need the regulations? Everybody of course may يعني خلينا نقول say انه why we need this regulation. The regulations usually cause hard time for people to provide or submit and prepare files for JFDA and to get finally drug registration. But of course we all know that we need this for many different reasons. For example, effective medicines regulations promotes and protects public health by ensuring that medicines are of the required quality, safety and efficacy. Medicines are appropriately manufactured, stored, distributed and dispensed. Illegal manufacturing and trade are detected and adequately sanctioned. Health professionals and patients have the necessary information to enable them to use medicines rationally. And access to medicine is not hindered by unjustified regulatory work. This is, of course, according to WHO. This may give justification why we need regulations. I think we all approve on that. Why do we need regulatory updates? Now we have regulations, but the demand is always to update these regulations and keep on updating it with the international requirements to avoid getting out or be late than the requirements or the environment internationally outside Jordan. To comply, let's say, to comply with highly variable international regulations, as I said, to meet the increasing needs for drug development and innovation. We need innovations. We need to be updated to the international regulations and to protect health by ensuring safety, efficacy, and quality of drugs. Of course, there are always let's say changes. There are always new methods, new way of analysis. There are always new information coming from colleges, scientists, etc. Also to increase transparency and effectiveness of the regulation. This is one of the requirements that assure that it needed to be updated and to make it available for the public. JFDA has made many updates during the last year. What are the new regulations or updates that JFDA has done during the last year? For example, JFDA changes the way that we give, let's say, they changes the way that we give shelf life for products. We used to give a shelf life exactly the same as originator for generics, but now we started to give shelf life different than the originator, since there are data, fully submitted data, and it's the company succeeded to prove that the product is stable for shelf life even longer than originators. Now, product registration criteria also was updated on August 2011. We needed to update also the herbal product registration criteria to cope with the changes outside or all over the world. Updates for medical device regulations and importation regulation were issued in August. We have also updates for medical devices. Vitamin D3 also registration requirements. There are new regulation that has been made in the last year, and we needed this because vitamin D3 is outside Jordan considered as a food supplement and not a medicine. This made registering the product in Jordan very difficult, so we had to make a short list of requirements regarding vitamin D3 to enable manufacturers and importers to register the product in Jordan and to make it available for the public. And I think all of us knows that most of Jordanian people has the vitamin D3 deficiency. We don't know why, but usually when you go to the lab testing, you find you have vitamin D3 deficiency. We tried to make, as I said, a short list requirement for vitamin D3 registration, starting from 2000 international unit. Below this concentration, it's considered as a product and as a vitamin and not as a drug. But above the concentration, above this concentration, it's considered as medicine. Now, as I said, the requirements are simpler and easier than conventional drugs, and the new requirements allow vitamin D3 products to be available in the local market. Let's go through the requirements quickly. Administrative requirements, of course, it's needed. Certificates, we ask for price certificate, legalized fee sale certificate, and if the product is not already approved by JFDA, if the production license or if the manufacturing site is not approved or accredited by JFDA, GMP for the manufacturing site, and the site master file should be submitted. Now, quality requirements, of course, we ask for a formula, manufacturing process, finished product and active material need, specification, method of analysis, validation, and certificate of analysis. Real-time stability study also needed for 3 batches. In vitro dissolution, no need for bioequivalence study. In case of medicines, usually we ask for oral solid dosage form, we ask for a bioequivalence. But for this product, we skip this and we accepted a comparative dissolution. Clinical studies, in case it's not mentioned in the pharmacopoeia. If there is a new product with a concentration, let's say, it's not, or a dosage form which is not mentioned in the pharmacopoeia, the manufacturer will do clinical studies, and this case didn't happen till now. CD, we need the documents on an electronic copy, and these products will need a prescription because vitamin D3 is it's a serious product, and it's not an OTC product to be taken by patients by themselves. Now, another update. We have also GMP guidelines for medical devices were issued in August 2011. Accreditation of reference labs for drug analysis in case where analysis by JFDA is not available or cannot be performed. We have also, we try to solve this problem because our lab may not be able to do the analysis. We can accept a reference lab with, of course, a list of certain criteria and requirements. Bioreference regulations also were issued with amendments in August 2010. This is before, it's in 2010. We also have new amendments to manufacturing site accreditation regulations. This requirements include requirements for manufacturing site of intermediate products and for soap gelatin capsules. Also, we have manufacturers usually have problem in providing the requirements for accreditation of the manufacturing sites. There were, let's say, a short requirements, a little bit short, let's say, different than a medicine or a drug, a normal or ethical product. Let's have an idea about this. What do we mean by intermediate product? Intermediate product is the partially processed material containing an active pharmaceutical ingredient or more, which must undergo further processing steps before it becomes a bulk product. As I said, it was difficult for companies to provide us with a full file because usually these companies could not provide a CPP. Usually they do only the pellets or the granules or the soft gelatin capsules, and they don't sell in the market, so it's difficult to provide us with a CPP. Now, what are the new requirements? Checklists and forms, site master file for the site, GMP for the manufacturing site, mentions the production line, name and address of manufacturing site. Inspection on the manufacturing site, which is usually happen for drugs, in this case can be waived in case of presence of free sale certificate mentions the manufacturing site or GMP certificate from one of the approved reference countries. The approved reference countries are attached to the same regulation. It's different for pellets or intermediate, let's say, and for soft gelatin capsule. The regulation does not apply on biological products. We should know this clearly. Biological products has a very different situation, and the company must be inspected and should provide all the certificates required regarding the manufacturing sites starting, who starts manufacturing the API even. Requirements for manufacturing site of soft gelatin capsule, as I said, this regulation apply for both soft gelatin and pellets, but there are differences in the reference countries. If there is a certificate from this reference country, this will waive the inspection of the JFDA. JFDA also announced that re-registration of products will be for one time after the original registration. We have also this, complaints that re-registration always consume time from companies. We started to do, one time fully detailed study and evaluation of the registration files, and since the product has been evaluated and re-registered once with all and full details, after that there is a shortcut requirement needed, and it's like let's say fees, there should be fees paid, updated certificates, and annual report. We didn't issue this till now in a circular, let's say, but it's in the pipeline, it's in process. This is the circular that declares what I said. It's clear. We have also issued the requirements of the CTD format. Starting from April 2011, GFDA required files to be submitted in CTD format only. We used to accept both CTD format as, let's say, a normal drug file, and after that date, we refused to accept files with, unless it's a CTD format. A checklist for CTD format has been posted on GFDA website. The CTD also provides a format for the submission of information to regulatory authorities. It does not define content. We all know that CTD format, it's a format and it doesn't contain any details regarding the content of the every section. And this is in all of the CTD content. Also, I'll go quickly through this. Module 1, regional requirements, certificates, information and administrative documents. Module 2, summaries. Module 3, quality part, drug substance and drug product. And Module 4, non-clinical studies. Module 5, clinical studies, PSUR and risk management plan. We've issued also an explanatory note regarding the CTD in order to help companies to understand the requirements or how to prepare the file. The required data for each application will differ depending on the drug submission type. However, all the required data should be in accordance with CTD structure. Application types, we have different application types: originator, a new drug, a biological drug, biosimilar, generic, and radiopharmaceutical product. As I said, we issued explanatory guidance, and it's a little bit long. This is the CTD format.
دكتورة لينا بس ممكن بس كمان دقيقتين بس.
And I think everybody can find this on our website. Also, there's a big, it's a good change. We started to accept bioequivalence studies simultaneously with the registration file. Because previously approval of bioequivalence studies was required before registration application could be accepted, and it was this was time consuming and was difficult for companies. This is the circular. Now I'll talk about post-approval changes. I think, of course, this is also very popular. There is post-approval changes requirements. The regulation determine on registered product and include oral dosage form, intermediate, modified, semi-solid, liquid, and some specific changes on sterile product. Not all the changes regarding manufacturing site changes, formulation, manufacturing changes, and packaging and container. Changes that apply to all pharmaceutical dosage forms are, okay, this is also, you can find it on our website. It's very detailed. But we don't consider new concentration or dosage form on a new fill volume for the injection, or any change in the active ingredient, like change in the salt, ester, ether, isomer, or any other derivatives, or changing of the image as a post-approval changes. This need a new file to be submitted. And the changes required with the post-approval changes, post-approval applications, there are different ways to deal with them. There are technical approval, some changes need technical approval, technical committee approval, and some of registration approval and no need to go to the committee, and some of them need, or let's say, may finished by notification only, but actually we didn't do this till now. And I think no need. This is the contents of the post-pack requirements. And we have a new regulations, just 1 minute, we have a new regulations now regarding stability requirements. And this is a proposal only, it's not implemented yet. And there are a formula that should be, let's say, we negotiate usually with the manufacturers, with importers, with companies to reach to a common understanding. This is only a proposal, so no need to go through. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Bajali. Now, due to the unexpected delay, we will leave the questions till the end of the session, and we will go now for the next presentation. It is the relationship between intellectual capital and business performance of pharmaceutical manufacturing organization in Jordan. The presenter for this will be Dr. Abdelaziz Al-Sharabati. He's from Jordan. He graduated in 1983, getting his bachelor degree in pharmacy, and then he got his MBA from Jerusalem University in 2000, and then he got his PhD management in 2008 from Amman Arab University. He was working for 20 minutes in 20 years, sorry. Okay, 20 minutes is the presentation period. So for 20 years in Novartis as a country manager, and currently he is an assistant professor in Middle East University in Business College. So you can start, Dr. Abdel.
Good evening, each and everybody. Today, I will talk. Good evening, each and everybody. Today, I will talk about intellectual capital. It is a little bit different from the other lectures since the morning until now. Intellectual capital, actually, if we are going to evaluate or to, let us to say, manage the intellectual capital at the society level or at the country level, it is talk about, or we can say, the social capital. At the organization level, it is called intellectual capital. At individual level, we can call it individual capital or brain power. Now, I am going to talk about the purpose of the study. Actually, the purpose of this study is to investigate the intellectual capital elements or variables on Jordanian pharmaceutical manufacturing company's business performance. Intellectual capital can be defined. It is the difference between market value and the book value. This is according to Scandia. According to Montes 2004, intellectual capital is the stock of knowledge assets that provides value for the organization. Also, Stewart defined intellectual capital as something you cannot touch, but it still can make you rich. Anyway, generally, intellectual capital can be defined as it is an organizational intangible assets. It is a knowledge which is potential for knowledge or can create value for the company. It consists of three components: human capital, structural capital, and relational capital. The core of intellectual capital is human capital. Human capital can be defined as it is not owned by organization, it is owned by individual, it is individual property, such as knowledge, learning, education, innovation, and others. It goes when the people or the employee goes out of the company. Let us to say after 5 o'clock. Structural capital, it represents the organizational knowledge. It is owned by a company. It can be traded, shared with other companies. It is just like software, hardware, systems, and the programs. Also infrastructure, intellectual property rights, research and development. Structural capital, it is, yes, coming back to Sarah. Okay, let us to say about relational capital. Sorry, last one it was about relational capital. Relational capital, it is the relation between the organization itself and the outsider. The outsider can be partners, can be government, can be suppliers, can be customers. We are going to evaluate.
Just to say no.
Yes, I will say no, but it is not enough to say. I will take it.
Yeah.
Okay. Let us say intellectual capital. This is coming from zero again. I'm sorry for that. Relational capital, as we said, it is organizational level of knowledge. It is important and necessary for success. It can be owned not only by the company, it is by the company and the outsider. It is shared between the company and outsider. It is the relationship with customers, suppliers, strategic partners, and let us to say also government, it is included, and others. Problem statement about the research. Actually, the problem of defining, managing intellectual capital, it is not related to one industry, to one country, to one company. It is worldwide the problem. So, defining and measuring the intellectual capital in Jordanian pharmaceutical industry, or let us to say manufacturing companies exactly, it is the aim of this research. Intellectual capital, we are going to consider or to study the effect of intellectual capital on the business performance. Human capital, first, hypothesis that is, or let us to say the first question, is there an impact for human capital on organization business performance? The second one, is there impact of structural capital on organizations business performance? The third hypothesis, is there an impact of relational capital on organization business performance. First, the study considered as casualty study, then because it evaluates the effect of intellectual capital variables, human capital, structural capital, and relational capital on Jordanian manufacturing companies' business performance. The number of companies, it was that time 15 organizations. Now I think it is 17 organizations. The practical analysis were collected from 132 out of 200 managers. It is 66%. Statistical techniques such as descriptive statistics, the test, ANOVA test, correlation, multiple regressions, stepwise regressions, sequential regressions, partial least square, and path analysis were used for suitability and reliability. Kolmogorov, Smirnov, and Kronbach's alpha has been used. Also, Pearson's correlation component factor has been used to test reliability. First result, there was an effect for intellectual capital variables in Jordanian pharmaceutical manufacturing organizations, but when we go in detail, we say relational capital has the most and the highest positive and direct effect on business performance, followed by human capital, while structural capital was having the lowest effect. If we go for B, we can see it is clear that relational capital about 47%, then 41% the human capital, after that structural capital about 5%. If we go about beta, the same thing. So the first hypothesis has been rejected, the alternative has been accepted, the second also rejected, and the alternative accepted. The third hypothesis, the null hypothesis, have been accepted, which stated that structural capital does not affect business performance. Now, let us to jump from the other details and to go for recommendations. This is just to be in time. This is compare Jordan with other countries. We can say Jordan, Canada, Sweden, Malaysia, 3 studies in Malaysia and Iran. The human capital in Jordan was almost the same like other countries. Structural capital, there was a problem, and until now there is a problem in structural capital in Jordan and also in many other countries. We can say also Canada, Sweden, Iran having the same problem in structural capital. We have low structural capital. Relational capital almost same. Let us to go for another study between social capital and between intellectual capital, between whole society in Arab countries compared with intellectual capital in organizations. Human capital in pharmaceutical industry 3.43. In Jordan was the national capital, national human capital first, followed by Kuwait. Structural capital, Kuwait was first, 97%, Jordan very far from Kuwait. Relational capital, Jordan was first, Oman was second. Intellectual capital in general, Kuwait was first, Jordan was second. In business performance, Jordan was number 13. If I have took the 19 minutes, I can hold it one. Because remaining the recommendations.
You still have 5 minutes.
5 minutes, okay. Recommendations. The current management system in Jordanian pharmaceutical organizations should consider intellectual capital. And intellectual capital should be managed by systems, not by individuals. The problem in all Arab countries, individuals, even in the government. The influence of individuals on the decisions are the most important, or let us to say it is very clear, which is actually, if we would like to be like other companies in European countries, we have good talented people in Jordan and in Arab countries, but we actually don't have systems. The second recommendation, we have to focus on the three variables together: structural capital, human capital, and relational capital, because almost the Jordanian organizations concentrate on relational capital more than other capitals. Also, let us to say the elements of intellectual capital should be included in the criteria, evaluation criteria for individuals. Should be included in training programs or training criteria, recruitment criteria, and others. Employee profile. Let us to say about the intellectual capital or individual capital. We don't have system to evaluate each and every employee intellectual capital. This can be done by brain power test or 360-degree test or other tests. The last point, improving the relation between universities and the industry is important, which we lack for it in Jordan. And thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Sharabati. Our next speaker, Dr. Arafa Zayed, he will talk about pharmaceutical marketing more than sales. Dr. Zayed, he was graduated from University of Jordan in 1991, and then he got his MBA degree in marketing. He worked in pharmaceutical marketing, and currently he's the marketing and sales director in a Taqaddum company for pharmaceutical industry, and also as a lecturer in Applied Science University and Amman University. So you can start, Dr.
محاضرتي ببساطة تتحدث عن مفهوم تسويق الدوائر. محاضرتي ببساطة تتحدث عن مفهوم يتعلق بتسويق الدوائر، ولكن قبل هذا الشيء احنا بعمومية عامة لو حكينا للأكاديميك بيبول، للإندستري، في الصيدليات، للطلبة، جزء من اللي بدرسهم في إحدى الجامعات، مجرد انه نذكر ماركتينج دايركتلي بيحصر نفسه بزاويه بيحكي لك مندوب دعايه طبيه. التسويق means sales. فمحاضرتي ببساطه انه رح ناخذ تكامليه التسويق الدوائي، كونه بيختلف عن التسويق في اي سلعه من السلع. ربما لما نسوق شامبو او شوكولاته او وات عم نتكلم يس ماركتينج ايكوال سيلز، والفارماسيوتيكال ماركتينج في عندنا شموليه اخرى لا تتعلق بانحصاريه التسويق فقط في مفهوم السيلز، وبالتالي اجت المحاضره بعنوان Pharmaceutical Marketing More Than Sales. Just للتذكير عم نتكلم عن الفارماسيوتيكال اندستري وورلد وايد، عم نشوف فقط للمراجعه انه حجم الصناعه الدوائيه في العالم وصلت بجروث عالي جدا يير باي يير رابيد جروث، وفي اخر الارقام حسب الاي اس وصلت 875 بليون دولار، من اهم الصناعات الاستراتيجيه في العالم. من هذا المبدا عم نلاحظ انه لا شك هذه الصناعه as a driving force فيها the marketing department. So the marketing is the force that drives the business. At the same time احنا في دائره التسويق عاده دائما we look to establish a matching philosophy, matching formula between the resources of the firm, resources of the company and its environment. وبالتالي بقدر ما نعمل matching مع الاكسترنال environment بقدر ما ناخذ نوع من الديسيجن الصحيح ونستطيع ان نحقق الرؤية الاستراتيجية لدائرة التسويق. لا شك معروف من هذا القبيل بالتأكيد إنه إحنا in pharmaceutical marketing we are activating or working in dynamic environment. There's no static, it's not static passive process, it's a dynamic environment. ولهذا إحنا عم نعمل نشتغل في القطاع الداخلي داخل الشركة أو داخل الصناعة الدوائية، لنا علاقات مع الاكسترنال، بنحاول نوصل وجهة نظر الأسواق أو الكاستمرز أو الأطراف الخارجيين إلى الشركة to satisfy their need. الموديل المتعارف عليه في الصناعة الدوائية بالذات إنه هذه الدوائر all of these departments QC department, QA, human resources, finance, R&D, production and marketing and sales. كل دائرة من الدوائر تعمل كوحدة مستقلة بشكل متكامل لتحقيق الرؤية وتوجيه الأدوية according to the customer needs أو الماركت need. وهذا اللي معمول فيه خلال سنوات. لكن هذا الموديل أثبت إنه دائرة التسويق بهذا الشكل ربما تؤدي دور تنفيذي، بمعنى إنه ما يقدم الR&D، ما يقدم البرودكشن، الجنود المجهولين في الR&D مجرد إحنا عم ناخذ البرودكت جاهز نقدم ونسوق إلى الكاستمرز، وبتكون إحنا دورنا أصبحت منحصرة في السيلز. فكلما كان هذا الدور أو هذه الأشكال من الأورجنايزيشن كلما اتجهت شركات الأدوية to implement the sales concept. ولكن المفهوم الحديث إنه لا، أصبح دور الماركتينج اند سيلز، لاحظ الأورجنايزيشن ستراكشر اختلف. كل الدوائر الآن ستيل في مكانها، وجود السيلز اند ماركتينج ديبارتمنت كساندويشي از افر بدائرة منفصلة، لكن أصبحت زي امبريلا تعمل كونكشن بين الدوائر، تاخذ الرؤية من الكاستمر وتعكسها للدوائر، تاخذ تربط الدوائر بمنهجية متكاملة لعكس هذه الرؤية التصنيعية، وبالتالي تنعكس إلى الكاستمر. فلاحظ أصبح الدور ليس مجرد تنفيذي أو تكتيكي بقدر ما دخلت دائرة التسويق. وهذا ما تطبق الانترناشونال كومبانيز أو الفارماسيوتيكال الحقيقي لتطبيق مفهوم الماركتينج از بيور ماركتينج، بأنها عم تاخذ كل الدوائر بنظرة متكاملة، عم تعمل هذا التوحيد في الصناعة الدوائية لتعكسها إلى القطاع الخارجي أو للكاستمر بكل أبعاده. هذا هو المفهوم العام لدائرة التسويق والمبيعات. وبالتالي أمامنا حلين، إما أن تكون دائرة منفصلة عم تأخذ تعليمات وبالتالي تنفيذ لتحقيق المبيعات، وإما أن تأخذ هذا البعد الاستراتيجي لتكاملية الوحدة الصناعية في شركات الأدوية. من هذا المبدأ عم نقول إنه الماركتينج أصبح دوره، الرول في الماركتينج في الصناعات الدوائية ليس منحصر فقط في مبيعات جزئية، ربما يكون هو نتيجة، لكن عم ندخل في مسائل متعددة جدا، إن كان داخل الشركة أو خارج الشركة، بحيث أنها تعمل الكوميونيكيشن بروسيس على أصوله، عم تعمل السولفينج بروبلم اللي ممكن نواجهها داخل المصنع وخارج المصنع، بحيث نصل إلى الفورمولا الصحيحة وتحقيق رؤية الماتشنج استراتيجي. البارتنرشيب ريليشن بداخل دوائرنا في المصنع، وبالتالي نعمل بارتنرشيب أيضا ريليشن مع الكاستمرز على مختلف طبقاتهم أو تخصصاتهم أو السيجمنتس. أيضا الكونسلتيشن والباك جراوند العلمي لتحويل هذه الجمل العلمية الصماء من المصنع إلى لغة بفهمها الكاستمرز. وبالتالي أيضا قضية الاستراتيجيك مانجمنت اللي هو الدور الأساسي للتسويق، ومن ثم قضية السيلز. فببساطة شديدة جدا الفارماسيوتيكال ماركتينج از نوت سيلز، له دور أعمق بين كل الدوائر بوحدة تكاملية بين كل دوائر المصنع لتحقيق رؤية تكاملية for the customer satisfaction، وبالتالي يكون في عندنا رؤية استراتيجية واضحة. هذا ببساطة اللي حبينا نحكيه كمسج بهذه الأمسية الطيبة، وما نحاول نطول عليكم. وشكرا.
Thank you, Dr. Araf Zayed. And now our next speaker is Dr. Layla Badran. The title of her presentation, The Quality of Governmental Behavioral Ethics, Controlling the Controllers. Dr. Layla Badran, she got her PhD in strategies, policies, regulations, legislation, management, administration, QC and QA in pharmacy from UK. And now she is an independent expert in those in the strategy, policies, regulation. She was a former advisor to the Minister of Health for Drug Affairs from 1989 till 2003. She was the first founder and establisher of the Jordanian Institute of Pharmaceutical Affairs. She was the first establisher of the Drug Quality Control Laboratory with WHO expert, and also she was the first founder and establisher of several drug regulatory legislation. She worked in the Ministry of Health for 27 years, and she was also the national expert in the human resource development, director of pharmacy specialization, and WHO natural counterpart for pharmacy developing projects. It's a rich CV, Dr. Badran. So I'm saying it's a rich CV. Okay. Let me see.